Hey there, Pout here. This is an Aurora inverter, a 3.6 kilowatt grid-tied solar inverter. And this is an ABB. It's exactly the same machine, but Aurora made them first, Power 1, and then ABB made them. This one has 9 panels on it, this one has 5 panels. It's the middle of winter, it's December in England, and there's no sun today. It's an overcast sky. This one's making 8 watts, this one's making 49 watts. Andy Reynolds, who's a friend of mine, and is also an author, has recently published a new book, Wind and Solar Electricity. This will tell you everything you need to know about various types of installations for wind and solar electricity home generation, if that's what you're into. But one of the things that Andy does is he attempts to get you to question everything. And he pointed out to me that maybe these machines draw power from the grid when they're running at 0 watts or when they're running in twilight. At this time of year, this machine can be on all day and generating 0 watts. And at that point, you think to yourself, well, is the solar bringing in the power or is it from the grid? Well, I wasn't thinking that until Andy said it to me. So I thought, well, I'm going to have to figure this one out. So I've put in a meter here, which is a domestic consumption meter, single phase. And that wheel will turn if power is coming from the grid to the inverter. It's not turning at the moment. I think this one will only go one way because it has this little logo in the center of the screen there, like a little ratchet mechanism. So I don't think it can turn backwards. This one here is an eliminator or an eliminata. It's a little plug-in power meter thing. It's showing 8.9 watts. This one's showing 11, so they're kind of in agreement, and I suspect that it's generating because this one here isn't turning. If this starts to turn, it means it's not generating, it's consuming power. The eliminator here can only tell me what power is going through the wire. It can't tell me which direction. Whereas this guy up here, if the numbers are going up, it's using power, and if the numbers are going down, it's generating power. Or if the numbers are staying still, it's generating power. So I'm waiting for twilight, and yesterday all day this machine was doing 0. Right now, since I've been talking to you, it's gone up a little bit, which is positive, but it doesn't prove the point. So when this one comes to 0 watts, we'll check it out here. And yesterday, I think it was drawing 5 watts or something like that whenever there was no sun, something like that. It was doing 1 kilowatt hour every 100 hours. Is that 10 watts maybe? Something like that. It was so low though to be difficult to count was also the issue. We'll just have to wait until I won't say the sun goes in. When the sun's out, this thing does over 1 kilowatt. Andy has a few different points of view here, and maybe this will explain why I've got 2 of these guys. When I bought this, it came with 14 panels, but I only put 9 on it. Then I got this one. Well, I'm testing this one, but I put a second one on for the next 5 panels of the 14. I could have put them all in here on the second string in, but Andy's rule 1 of solar is have as many solar panels as you can possibly have, and I'm working towards that. And rule 2 of solar is run everything under capacity or under the limit. So if this limit on this is 3.6, well, it never goes over 2 kilowatts. And this one here being 3.6 will never really go over 1.5 kilowatts. And if I can do that, it should last forever. And so far, as a second-hand unit, which is probably at least 10 years old when I got it, it's done 2 years without complaint. This one and most Auroras seem to fail on E31, error 31, which is a relay failure, and you have to take it apart and replace the relays and it just works again. And we're on 0 watts actually, so it's a good time to check. This guy was on 0 for a second, it's gone back up to 35 and now 13. It's not telling me anything yet. Right, I'll have to wait until the sun really goes down. But these machines, if it is error 31, if they haven't completely blown the board apart, they are quite easy to fix, and I've had a lot of success repairing them. So what I do now is I repair one and swap it out for this unit. I've left this one in place just because it's hardwired, but I run this one off a plug because it's only ever running 1 kilowatt. I'll come back when it's at 0 and we'll see how it looks. So it's not the end of the day yet, almost, and this has gone down in the last few minutes from 4 to 2 watts. It's reading 1.7 here, it's reading 1 there, or 3. But I've noticed, if you look at the black bar on that wheel, it's moving. So the machine here says we're putting out 1 watt, but I think we're actually consuming 1.3, 2. I think it's flipped now. When it was at 4 watts, this fellow here wasn't moving, but you can see it moving now. Not much, but the bar is just about to touch the index in the middle there. That means we're importing power to the inverter, and it's at 1 watt now, 0 watts again. So if it's at 0 watts or 1 watt, it's actually using 2.2, 2.3 watts. Now none of these machines, the meters, this power meter here that we're looking at right now, none of these things are calibrated, but I'm surprised that we're drawing power. Now 2 watts isn't going to break the bank, but I've got 3 of these inverters running, 2 Auroras and 1 ABB, or maybe 2 ABBs and 1 Aurora. And if they're all drawing 2.5 watts for a few hours a day, well, that'll quickly add up to very little. So you can see we're nearly through the black bar. Now every revolution of the meter, every revolution of that meter wheel is 5 watt hours. 200 is 1 kilowatt hour. So it's barely moving at all. But yeah, it's not great. Now it's going up again here. We're at the 3 watts now. 3.4, 3.8, nearly 4 watts. And it's at 0. I'm just surprised by it, really, is all that's going on here. There isn't very much to see. But cheers to Andy for pointing it out. And well, here we are measuring it because we're developing our questioning mind. I was almost certain that I'd heard somewhere or read somewhere that these things couldn't draw power from the grid, that was a feature of the G83 rules, was that they couldn't do it. But this is clearly drawing power. It's not much power, but it's power. It's the same as charging a phone. I thought that if there was power coming off the solar panels, it would be on, and there maybe is some tiny amount, but it's not enough, and now it's feeding back in gently, and I didn't think that was allowed. So there you go. Not much to say except Aurora, ABB, gotta watch out. This is really only important in the winter time when we're getting, like, potentially now there's a whole other hour of twilight. It doesn't really matter in summer when you're getting, you know, a kilowatt hour coming out of these things every hour. But in winter, when, you know, today these would have peaked out at around 50 watts each, it's not very much. So then to go on some days like yesterday, for this one was on 0 watts pretty much all day yesterday, which means it's drawing 5 watts now. It's got a little burst of something there up to 21 watts. I don't know what that was. But these things, this is drawing power all day yesterday. So there's a question about whether it's even worth leaving it on an overcast day. If it's going to cost you maybe what, a fraction of a kilowatt hour, but it's the potential that you might get a lot of sun, which would immediately eclipse it. I suppose there's some question here about how your metering is configured, because sometimes you'll be drawing power from the grid. You'll be billed for that, but you might not be given a credit for the power going back in the same way. I'm not sure. I don't know if I know enough about those things yet, but I'm learning slowly but surely. Right, questions or comments, leave them below. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and thanks for watching. See you later.